It's Algebra 2, test number 10, part 2, picking up on number 6. Solving the equation says x squared plus 20x plus 100 equals 64. For our trinomial x squared plus 20x plus 100, that's a perfect trinomial. The first, the first term, you can take the square root of it and get x. And the third term, you can take the square root of it and get 10. Remember, this sign is the one that which you put between them, plus, and it's squared equals 64. So we took a perfect trinomial and made it a binomial. So that says x plus 10 squared. Undo that by taking the square root of it, and that'll leave you with just x plus 10. But if you take the square root of the left, you have to take square root of the right. So you have the square root of 64. So you're left with x plus 10 equals the square root of 64, which is a perfect square. It's either positive or negative 8. So when we undo plus 10, we subtract it. We subtract 10 from positive or negative 8. So the easiest way to look at that, not to turn them, the easiest way to look at that is to say it's either 8 or negative 8. So, or negative 8. So subtract 10 from both of them. Minus 10 from 8 is negative 2, or subtract 10 from negative 8, negative 18. So your two answers are negative 2 or negative 18. 7 says 7y plus 6 equals, we have to distribute 6 times y is 6y, and 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. So we have variables on both sides. Put your smaller variable 6y to your left by subtracting 6y. It leaves you with 1y on the left plus 6 equals negative 36. Get rid of plus 6 by subtracting it on both sides, and y equals negative 42. That's positive 8, so subtract it on both sides, and it leaves you with 8n equals 40. Get rid of 8 times n by dividing by 8, and n equals 5. Distribute 4 times y and get 4y. 4 times 5 is plus 20 equals 60. Get rid of plus 20 by subtracting it on both sides, and 4y equals 40. Get rid of 4 times it by dividing by 4. Y equals 10. Factor the expression means you have to pull out what they have in common for number 10. They're both negative, and they both have a 3 in them, and they both have an x. So what do you have to multiply negative 3x by to get negative 15x squared? You have to multiply it by 5x. And what do you have to multiply it by to get negative 6x squared? You have to multiply it by 2. Okay, to factor out number 11, open yourself 2 sets of parentheses and have x times x. We're just going to work FOIL backwards. You have to look at your factors for the number 60, or the third term, or the C version. Factors of 60 are 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. So which pair of those, when you add them or when you combine them, either positive or negative, will give you the number 16? 1 and 60 is either going to give you 61 or 59. We're either going to get 32 or 28. We're going to get 17 or 23. We're going to get 19 or 11. We're going to get 17 or 7. 6 and 10 are the only numbers that work. So plug in 6 and 10. So now we have to figure out, what do we put in them for signs, plus or minus? The sign before your C, or this version here, plus, tells you that they're both going to be the same sign. They're either going to both be minus or they're both going to be plus. Once you know they're the same, then you look to the sign in front of your B term, the negative. That tells you they're both the same and they're both negative. So factored out, x minus 10 times x minus 6. Do the same thing with number 12. Look at your factors of 10 real quick. 1 times 10 and 2 times 5 are the only ones you can use. So open up two sets of parentheses again, x times x, and which pair will give you the number 3? 1 and 10 is either going to give you 11 or it's going to give you 9. 2 and 5 is either going to give you 7 or it's going to give you 3. So 2 and 5 are the only numbers we can use. Again, the sign in front of your C term or the sign in front of the third one's negative. That means it's not positive, which meant they're the same. It's negative, which means they're different. The sign in front of your B value or in front of the second one's negative. Since they're different and that one's negative, that means that the larger value is going to be negative. 5 is larger than 2, so it's minus, and 2 is positive. So x plus 2 times x minus 5. 13, we're writing the number in the form a plus bi. We have the square root of negative 4 plus 4. Remember, to get rid of a negative under a radical, you take the square root of 4 and you multiply it by I. That pulls the negative out. So I times the square root of 4 plus 4. And we know that the square root of 4 is the number 2. So we have I times that plus 4. But we're writing it in a form, and it's actually plus or minus that. But we're writing it in the form a plus bi. So a's value is 4 plus or minus 2i. 4 plus or minus 2i. 14 says find the missing value to complete the square. We're looking for c. Remember, c is b divided by 2 squared. So this is a, the one that's not shown. This is b, and then we don't have a c yet. So take 2 and divide it by 2, because that's your b value right there, 2, and square that whole thing. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. So your c value is 1. So plus 1 is what you would put to complete that square. Solve the quadratic equation by completing the square. We do not have a perfect trinomial here because 21, you cannot take the square root of 21. So move that one over by subtracting it. Since it's plus, subtract it from the other side. Now you have x squared plus 8x equals negative 21. We have ax squared plus bx. We don't have plus c. We need to find plus c. Remember, c, again, just like the last one, is b over 2 squared. So we have a value for b. It's 8 over 2 squared. 8 over 2 is 4 squared. So our c value is 16. So now we have x squared plus 8x plus c means plus 16 equals negative 21. Since we added 16 to the left, we have to put plus 16 on the right or our balance will be off. Now we have a perfect trinomial here, x squared plus 8x plus 16, because we can take the square root of x squared and get x, and we can take the square root of 16 and get 4. Remember, this sign tells us to put plus in the middle. So that perfect trinomial is factored out as a binomial x plus 4 squared. Negative 21 plus 16 is minus 5 or negative 5. So this says x plus 4 squared equals negative 5. Get rid of squaring something by taking the square root. That'll leave you with just x plus 4. Take the square root of that side to balance it out. So now you have times over the square root of negative 5. You have to remove the negative value from under the radical. So we have x plus 4 equals I times the square root of 5. And all you have to do left is get rid of plus 4 by subtracting it. Do likewise to this side. And x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 5 times I. Rewrite it in vertex form. Well, you need a perfect trinomial to make vertex form. 15 is not going to give you a perfect trinomial. So subtract 15 from the right and subtract it from the left. Now you have y minus 15 equals x squared plus 10x. And you need to find c. Again, c is b over 2 squared. B's value, a is 1. B is 10, so 10 over 2 squared is 5 squared, which is 25. So we have y minus 15 equals x squared plus 10x. plus 25 when we add in plus c. But you have to put it on the other side as well, or you'll throw the balance off. So now you have a perfect trinomial. You can take the square root of x squared and get x, and the square root of 25 and get 5. Remember, this tells you to put plus between them and squared. So that perfect trinomial is factored as a binomial, x plus 5 squared. On the left side of the equal sign, we have y, negative 15 plus 25 is plus 10. We're almost to vertex form. Last thing we have to do is get rid of plus 10 by subtracting it, and subtract it from the right side as well. Y equals x plus 5, written just like that, squared, minus 10. That is your vertex form. 17 says use a quadratic formula to solve the equation. Your quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is in standard form already. A is negative 5, b is 9, and c is negative 5. So plug the values in. You have negative, and then you have b's value plus or minus square root of b's value squared minus 4 times a's value times c's value over 2 times a's value. So we plug a's value in all of its spot, negative 5 in place of a and negative 5. When we plug in b's value in all of its place, it's 9, and c's value is negative 5. So all we have to do is simplify it from there, and all that's equal to x. Negative 9 plus or minus the square root. 9 squared is 81. Negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. That times negative 5 is positive 20. That time is negative 100. And all of that is going to be over negative 10. So x equals all of that there. So when we simplify what's under the radical now, negative 9 plus or minus the square root, 81 minus 100 is going to be negative 19. So that's over negative 10. You can't leave it as negative 19. You have to pull that out, that negative value. So x equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 19 times I over negative 10. And that is it in your quadratic formula. Solve this by finding the square. First thing you want to do is undo multiply by 4 by dividing by it. X squared equals 3. Get rid of squaring something by taking the square root of it. X equals plus or minus the square root of 3. Rationalize the denominator. Whatever's on the bottom, multiply it by it over itself if it's a radical. 3 times the square root of 6 is written simply like that. 3 times the square root of 6. The square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 36, which simplifies right back to the radicand itself, or what's under the radical, 6. The number 3 goes into itself once, and it goes into 6 twice. So you're left with the square root of 6 over 2. And then 20 you have to FOIL. First terms, f is 6 times 2 is 12. Outer is 6 times the square root of 10, so it's plus 6 times the square root of 10 times the square root of 10. And then inner terms, minus 2 times the square root of 10. And then finally, last terms, minus the square root of 100. Combine your like terms. 6 times the square root of 10 minus 2 times the square root of 10 is 4 times the square root of 10. So 12 plus that minus the square root of 100 is minus 10. So 12 minus 10 is, combining those, is 2 plus 4 times the square root of 10.